Um, Amy, you ready? Sorry. Wait. Okay, sorry. All right, well, welcome everybody. Today is gonna be a good day. It's our first PD of the year, and we have Nicholas Chiu with SLU. Going to be presenting about our Smash PD. So I'm gonna let Chiu take it away. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time, and thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy.
Thanks, Nate. Hi, guys. My name is Nicholas Chiu. I'm the program director over at St. Louis University. I've been helping MOSEF run some of their Smash stuff for the past year or so, and I've been running Smash things ever since I was a college student. So currently, I'm a full-time employee at St. Louis University, and Smash is like my passion. It's not the thing that a lot of colleges kind of pick up, but it's one of the most interactive games. And I'm excited to see high schools pick it up because I think it's a game that can really, really change someone's life because it's a lot more personable than a lot of games. Team games, a lot of the times you're kind of stuck behind a monitor. But in Smash, a lot of the time, the best parts of Smash are when you're able to play side by side with your friends. So I'm really hoping that we're able to see this season take off because I'm really excited to see crew battles and other events. I know you guys had the singles event last semester, but this semester I can't wait to see crews because it's one of my favorite formats of all time. It's one of the most interactive too. But to kind of just quickly introduce myself, kind of give you some background about my Smash knowledge. Um, uh, I have been playing Smash for the past 5 to 6 years, uh, both casually and competitively. I run the St. Louis Ultimate Smash scene as the main tournament organizer. So that means I run local events here, and I'm the one who coordinates every single regional event as well in the St. Louis area. I'm the largest tournament organizer in Missouri, so whenever there is a big event happening, it's usually ran by me or in coordination with me. I've ran a major tournament almost as big as Combo Breaker, which is the largest fighting game tournament in the Midwest, called Smash Out. It's a charity event held at St. Louis University. It had over about 800 people for it. Uh, on top of that, I have been also a competitor. So here are some of my major tournament results. I have competed at the highest level, peaking in the last Smash game, actually, Smash 4 for the Wii U, where I was a C-Star League, which is the collegiate competition for Smash, national qualifier. I also placed in the top like 3% of most majors that I attend to, always making it out of the pools that are mainly set and competing in the top cut at most major events. 197th at Smash and Splash, 257th at the Box, which is an online ultimate event. All of these are usually with 1,000. As you see, the Box had over 8,000 people, so getting 257 is pretty good. I'm not like crazy. I know you know some players that are in the scene currently in the high school scene, like Luma, like I think players like Doman, who might come out for this semester. Those are players that are in the top like 1% of players. I'm probably in the top like 5%. But we'll cut right to it. Talk about the basics of Smash Ultimate. For some people, this might just be very, very simple things that you've talked about in the past semester. But I kind of want to make sure that people who don't really know too much about Smash uh, are able to kind of get some information down so they're able to be caught up. But Smash is a different fighting game than most. Something that is different between our games and other games is that we have lives. Most other games have one life and a health bar. We have stock and percents, which is very, very different from other games. I'd like to call Smash a sandbox fighter for the most part because instead of just trying to deplete your opponent uh, the to deplete their HP bar, you're trying to get them off the stage and send them flying as soon as possible. This means that you're able to lose your stock at any point in time. It doesn't matter if you're 0% or 150%. It's a 7-minute game, so in the competitive rule set, you have 7 minutes to take each other's stocks, um, and we have a limited stage list. In other games, they don't have stages typically. A lot of times it's just texture changes within the actual stages. But with Smash, a huge dynamic shift can be within the actual stages itself. On the right here, I have the current stage list within the national rule set. And these change from time to time, so you guys might be running something very different than what we are running. But the standard is typically you choose a different stage that might cater to your character. Uh, Something that can drastically change the tide of battle between characters based upon just complete matchup differences. And lastly, this is the largest cast of characters that a fighting game has ever seen. 88 playable characters, and that's not even including DLC that's constantly being pushed out. Finally, we've stopped adding characters, which I think is a blessing because there are so many different matchups and different intricacies within those matchups that you have to know as a top competitor. You potentially might be having to play more common characters like those top tier characters. But there's also very niche characters like Little Mac, characters like Kirby, who you might not be able to see as much. There might not be enough information available about certain characters, and it's your job as a competitor to know it when you come against it in bracket. But for those of you who weren't here last year, I had a glaring theme within a lot of my presentations, which is that Smash is a game of problem solving. A lot of the things that we're going to bring up today isn't a matter of learning the best combos or figuring out the best technical aspects of the game. Those are all things that your players can kind of figure out on their own time. What you as coaches kind of need to do is guide those players to solve the issues that they have at hand. Smash has so many different intricacies, and because of that, you don't have to know everything about the game in order to help your players kind of improve on it. What you can do is give them a scenario, or look at those scenarios that your players are going through, and help them figure out the options that are available to them, so that they can solve the problem themselves. So the important aspect of it is learning your character's options so you can choose the options that will solve the certain problem. And this is something that your students will have a lot more knowledge of because they're going to be character specific. It's not weird for your players to be a one trick, or in other games that's typically looked at as a bad thing. In Smash, it's actually looked upon as a good thing. If you're a character specialist, that means you know every single intricacy of your character yourself, what the aerials are, what the tilts are, what the smashes are, and what the specials are. And why this isn't so important is because when you are a character specialist, you are able to determine what is the safest option when taking on a scenario, whether or not that is using a a move like a smash attack that is being spammed in your face, whether or not that is being at the ledge and not being able to get back on the stage, or even just recovering. A lot of times you see players just constantly uh, fall off the stage. It's a very basic thing to do, or unable to get around a certain move and they get frustrated through that. Most of the time, your character has the tools to deal with a very basic issue. The more intricate parts of Smash kind of go into uh, finding the options and covering those options. But in order to find the options that you want to cover, you kind of have to learn those options in the first place. So, one of the things that you can ask your students when you're coaching them in Smash is asking them what options that they saw available during a certain scenario. And later on in this presentation, when we talk about more of option coverage, I'll do a VOD review with you guys so we can kind of look at what those options kind of look like. What are those things you can kind of talk about in a more layman's terms. But once you kind of delve in more deep into a character, if you want to delve more deep into a character specialist, they're going to be the ones to actually teach you a lot more of it, a lot more of the information that you need to learn. But because Smash uh, is a game of option coverage, you need to teach your kids how to be unpredictable. A lot of the times, the issue with a lot of players, especially at the lower level when they're coming in and breaking into the scene, is that they have habits that they are unable to kind of correct. And this is something that is a human. It's a human nature within all of us. Sometimes you're very stubborn in choosing try to do the same thing over and over again. And it makes it in a game like Super Smash Brothers, it's extremely easy to kind of get into that habit. I suffer from it. Even the top players suffer from it. Even if you feel like you're able to play at the highest level, you have some sort of habit that your opponent is going to be trying to pick up. So one of the things that when you do VOD reviews with your teammates and with your players is by reading those habits, making sure you're able to see what things your players and your opponents are repeating over and over again. And this is very valuable because when you go back into a game after you lose or you win, there is always something to improve on. Smash is not a game where you can't change the way that you played because it's so free form. So make sure you go back and watch your opponent's habits, and we can kind of go over that in a little bit about what those type of things look like. But I think a big question that your players are going to be coming up to you is asking you about what characters they want to be able to play. Some players do not have like a main specifically that they know that they want. And something that I want to talk to you guys about specifically is making sure that they uh, choose something that they're comfortable with. A lot of the times, a lot of burnout happens within Smash because you're not playing a character or you're not having fun with a certain character. You're trying to play towards a tier list or you're trying to copy exactly uh, what the top players are playing. There are so many characters in this cast right now that you should not be choosing a character based upon what other people are doing necessarily. Um, Although I do agree that watching top players of a certain character can help you a lot and help you learn the options. In the end of the day, you need to make sure your students are having fun with the game. You need to make sure that they are playing to what they are comfortable with, and to not kind of change who they are as a one trick. Uh, I I look down upon players who are starting out to play the game, who are going to events playing multiple characters, when in reality they should be learning the options with a single character. Just because a character is high on the tier list, which I have listed right here, it doesn't have every single character, but it has most of the common characters, doesn't mean that you have to be forced to play one of the top tiers. I play Donkey Kong, which is notoriously one of the worst characters in the game, but I still take tournament sets. The reason is because I've been playing Donkey Kong for years. I started playing Donkey Kong since I was about 17 years old, constantly playing more and more, and learned every single intricacy, not even just through this game, but through multiple games. So I play them in almost every title of Smash. And it makes me comfortable whenever I play them. It's something that some people don't have to be character loyalists either. We had players in the last game play Bayonetta. She was the most broken character in the game, and people did play for the tier list. But that's at the highest level. We are not playing at the highest level right now, so make sure you're uh, playing to be comfortable and you're able to win with those characters. This is the most balanced Smash game in the entire history of Smash. So you can win with almost anything and make some sort of impact, especially in a cruise format, which is what we're kind of going into because cruise is a whole different beast than singles, which you guys covered last semester. Singles, individual based, you have you're playing to win the game, not to keep your stocks, which I think is a very important indication of cruise versus singles. So some of the rules might be different from what I'm going to be explaining, but this is like kind of the basic concept of what cruise is. So it's a team of 5 game. So you're taking 5 different players and not having them play at the same time. You're individually sending them out against your opponent. So individual skill still does matter. So that's why that singles practice is super important. Um, but for each stock that is kept during each game, it's carried over to the next game. So if someone plays with, so this graphic actually really shows what a cruise format would be. So if a person has 2 stocks after one, if someone takes all the stocks away from the opponent, and you have 2 stocks remaining, then those 2 stocks carry over, and you continue to fight against the next opponent. And pretty much, you have a pool of stocks that you're trying to take away from the entire team. Um, and the last team standing, or the last team that has the most stocks remaining, wins the game. A very important indication between this and also singles is that there's infinite time within a crew battle format. So You can take your time. You don't have to rush into forcing your way into taking stocks. You can camp someone out. You can play. You can play to win, which I think is very, very important, and people don't really understand. It's kind of people will deem it as lame, but in reality, you're playing for a tournament and you're playing for like a state championship. This might be a super important thing to note. In fact, I remember during your crew battles finals, I remember watching players like Luma um, wait out things like cloud limit options that are based upon time. These are things that you can do uh, uniquely in this format. Whereas in a timed format, with the 7 minutes, you might have to rush in and fight during that time. Something that also might change between rules is that it's a one character per player. Usually during cruise formats, what we do is that you have to lock in a character specifically with a certain player. So the character that you might play might be uh, that you might play in one crew battle might be completely different in a different crew battle, but you have to lock those in before the crew battle actually starts. So one player might have to play Lucario, one player might have to play Sephiroth. Uh, these are all different things that are locked in pre-crew battle usually. Oh, I forgot which one we're going to be using for questions. I think it's the Smash Ultimate chat. So if you guys have any questions at any point, you guys can type it in the chat. Don't be afraid to send it, and I can stop at any point to answer any questions. Especially right now, because the cruise format is something that I think is very different. I can answer some questions right now about that as well. Can multiple players have the same character? That's a question for the admins, for the tournament organizers. Typically, we would not allow that for some circuits do allow it, some circuits don't allow it. It's just difference based upon the crew battle event itself, not the same set. Okay, so that means you're not allowed to have two clouds or two jokers, which it does hinder players being one tricks and stuff. But I think in the same set, it does allow for a lot of character diversity and a lot of changes in strategies that you're able to go, which we can talk about in a second. But it's something that I've been asked about previously is picking out members for your crews, especially when you have multiple teams. I think a big important aspect of this is determining skill, which a lot of your players can personally do for you. I think talking to your players and communicating with them is very, very important because it allows you to. Uh, you're not going to know everything about the game. I personally have a League of Legends team. I almost know nothing about the game. So it's the players are the ones that are interacting with each other and it's a lot giving them a leadership role in determining who should be on crews is very important. But you also have to kind of teach them and guide them about strategies within the crew itself. What type of characters do you want on your main crew? I know you guys are also going to be on a hybrid format for this season. So I know last season you had a completely Wi-Fi format or online format. The game is completely different on online and in person. Smash Ultimate Netcode is one of the worst things I've ever seen. But this also changes the aspects of the game. Some characters are significantly better on Wi-Fi or online than they are in person. And if you guys do have an in-person finals, do you want to cater to that, or do you want to cater towards making it to the finals in the first place and then adjusting your strategy later on? This is very important to talking with your players about, especially when you're trying to choose the players that are going to be on your crew in the first place. Uh, on top of that, the play style that they have is very important. Certain players are very rush oriented, very aggressive. Um, Sometimes this doesn't mesh well in a cruise format because there's infinite time. Uh, you have to cater and keep stocks continuously throughout the event. You can't just go in and win the game itself. Sometimes certain players need to take more stocks than others. Um, and I hate using the word dead weight, but sometimes there are situations where there is dead weight on your team. And you need to acknowledge that and play and adjust around it. When I was doing a cruise format, I was the dead weight on my team. I had four other players that were significantly better than me, and I always had my job as a player was to go even, pretty much, especially against players that were significantly better than me. So it's something that you need to address and talk about with your players. Uh, when you're picking them out and keeping your team separate. Um, but also, you need to make sure you're able to kind of abuse certain mechanics within Smash. Certain characters just do significantly better in a cruise format. I know you guys had some controversy previously about what characters are allowed in cruise because they have some unfair mechanics in the format. Characters like Lucario and Sephiroth scale upon how many stocks they have less than the opponent. So a common strategy that a lot of smashers use when in cruise format is by playing Lucario or Sephiroth first, because even if you're able to win the game itself, but only have 1 or 2 stocks, you're going to be instantly in an advantage going to the next game, because although you're up in the crew battle setting, you are technically down inside the actual game itself. You're going to be stronger during that fight, and you can kind of cheese your way into more and more stocks. These are all things that you can think about. And it's very specific towards a character specialist in these 2 characters. But it's something that you can, if you have one of these characters, you can definitely talk about with your players. Make sure it's very transparent between your players too about what characters they're going to be playing, what characters they have in their arsenal. Make sure you're able to communicate with that with them so you know what to adjust later on. And flexibility. A lot of times crew battles kind of go away. Like sometimes you'll lose one of your best players almost instantly, or they go even, or they don't take as much stocks as possible. Making sure your players are ready for that situation, being making sure that they are able to step up to the plate during certain situations, because I think it's very important. And also, um, making sure that they are able to adjust to unfamiliarity within the game. Like I said, there are 88 characters, or more than 88 characters in this game, and they're gonna come across characters that play annoying, act weird, or certain players that play annoying or act weird. Making them understand that this is a situation that is going to come up to them at some point in the game, and not to get frustrated. To go back and kind of learn from this experience, even if they lose or even if they win, making sure that they have um, the adaptability to go back and eventually uh, solve the issues that they have at hand. But now we can kind of talk about crew battle strategies other than just like the character specific things. This is a little bit more catered towards you guys as coaches, and something that you can kind of coordinate with your players. But making sure that you have, when you're playing a cruise format, you kind of have to uh, be able to cater towards what your players are comfortable towards. Comfort picks are a huge thing, especially when you're picking out who's starting in the game itself. Starting the start of the race is just as important as the ending of the race, in my opinion, because it sets the tone for the entire crew battle. If you start really strong, there's a chance that you can just sweep the entire game because of that start. If you start even, then it's a neck and neck race, and it goes down to the wire. But that momentum swing from the start of the game is so important that it could change the entire tide of the crew battle. This is why neutral starts and comfort picks are so important in here. So picking a character that might not have a terrible matchup into the potential team, the opponents uh, of of the other team. So acknowledging that there are certain characters that might have a rough matchup against you, like a heavy character might struggle against projectile throwers, or projectile throwers might struggle against really fast characters. Um, Making sure you're able to talk that through your team and going through that, and then also scouting out for your opponents, knowing what they are going to bring to the table or what surprise picks they might bring to the table. Uh, do that kind of research prior to that, so you can, during the crew battle, um, kind of make smart decisions for your players. But also, the ending of the race is also important as well. Sometimes uh, players will keep their strongest player to the very end because they are the ones that are dependable or can take the most stocks later on. But this is also the player that's going to have the most pressure. This is what we call anchoring. So players will save the best for last to make sure that they're able to kind of save the day if they are losing the entirety of the game. But the risk of this is the other team might send their best player instantly to take more stocks or instantly sweep 3 stocks. That's very important for them, but the risk is you might lose your best player at the very beginning. Uh, Counter picking and saving characters is a strategy that can be developed more and more on as you guys kind of delve into the more intricacies of Smash. You'll see that certain characters just do significantly better than other characters in certain matchups. So you might be saving that character for a specific person, or even a specific person for a specific person based upon that matchup. If you know uh, someone on the other team is better than the rest of your crew, so you want to be able to save a player for them. That's something that you guys have to make a decision about prior to the actual crew battle itself, and making sure that you're able to kind of accommodate the situation that you're in. And sometimes plans go as planned, but you also have to be able to just understand that it's a tournament format. Sometimes people will go off the roadmap and make your life a living hell when making these decisions. But kind of teaching Smash is very important in helping guide your students as teachers uh, through a scenario itself. One of the ways that I highly encourage players to do is always to go to events and play people that are like-minded with them. Um, when your players kind of get past a certain level, where it's past just mashing on the controller, playing and making moves without thought, you kind of get into a whole different realm of what Smash actually is. A lot more options become available to them, and they start thinking differently about the game. It's important to kind of not hinder that knowledge and that idea. A big thing that players should be doing is always playing up rather than down. So that means you should not be comfortable when you're learning about the game. You should always be trying to play against players that are also thinking about the game, right? And not playing against players that uh, are constantly spamming the same option over and over again. The importance of this is that a lot of the times your students will think of that as what we call BM, or kind of take offense to a lot of things that happen when people don't want to play each other. But it does have some sort of reasoning behind it. Uh, for players that spam the same option against you over and over again, you might develop the habit of spamming an option that works against them over and over again and thinking that it's a great option later on in tournament. And the sad reality when you just come across that option is actually not as good as you thought. And your kind of mind is kind of broken up into a whole new world. Especially in the age of Wi-Fi, this is something that's a lot easier changed and able to help because you have a wide pool of players that you're able to compete against. There are a lot of grind servers, Wi-Fi servers, or even the Missouri or Smash or the STL Ultimate servers that have people playing constantly that aren't just your students. So making sure you're able to give them those tools and access to playing against other people, and trying to get them to branch out to play against the other players in the scene as well, not just against their friends. Because I feel like if you're stuck in that bubble, you'll never get better at any point. But guiding them to find solutions for each scenario as well is very important. Making sure that they're not getting too frustrated about getting spammed on or losing to it. Kind of showing them and watching VODs with them to acknowledge that there is an option that your character can have, and making sure that they understand that they should be looking for an option in the first place. And also playing under pressure. I think we can all acknowledge that it's going to be significantly different playing in their events and tournaments uh, than playing at home or scrimming with each other. So emulating that scenario is very, very important. So whether or not that is going to tournaments, we're kind of in a COVID age again. So in-person events are still around. They're just they have a lot of restrictions right now. So I always think that in-person tournaments are the best way because you're playing in a better format. But because you guys are playing in an online setting, online events are also available as well. The box or Team Liquid's tournaments are every Wednesday. There are always, if you go on Smash UG, which is the website with a lot of events, they can find events that are free events that they can enter every single week. Online events are the best way to emulate because you're playing against people who are one like-minded, but also two, you're able to replicate the tournament format over and over again. I do think in a cruise setting, it does take a long time to scrim. So because cruise isn't the same thing as like playing in teams in Overwatch or League of Legends, it's a lot easier and a lot better to play on an individual basis because you're able to set your own schedule and also make it so that you're able to carry the team in some way. Smash is a game of carrying uh, your crews together, so you're able to kind of smash the opponent and create momentum. They need to have individual skill to be able to do that. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'm going to be talking a little bit more about um, the actual ideology of Smash now. This was more in my advanced presentation last time. So before I kind of go into the intricacies of that, and we can do a VOD review together. I want to make sure no one has any questions. No one is typing, so I'm going to assume that I can move on. But now we're going to be delving a little bit deeper into Smash theory and Smash itself. This is very important because you guys, as educators, will not have to learn everything about a player's character, but there are certain aspects of Smash that can be taught about um, because it's such a different type of fighting game. Fundamentals within fighting games is something that is kind of not necessarily it's something that you have to experience yourself for the first time to really understand it, and kind of guiding your students through this phenomenon is important, especially when they go through it for the first time. Your players are going to get frustrated when they play against people that are actually good at the game, significantly because they're going to be introduced to a world where they are the worst player in the room. It's just kind of like a nature of Smash and any game itself that you go to a competitive scene and you were playing with your friends in the first place. What we call those players are what we call O2ers, people who instantly get out of the tournament and experiencing events for the first time. O2ers aren't looked down upon in any way because that's how they were introduced to the scene. I went O2 or lost immediately in tournament for the first 3 months of me going to events. It's just kind of a scenario where you need to go through this experience. It's like a growing up experience in a way. It's a humbling experience, and it makes it so that you start thinking about the game and want to get better at the game in some way. Um, but through this entire phase, you kind of learn about the three phases of Smash that happen, um, because it's something that you aren't thinking about. All you're thinking about when you're playing Smash for the first time is just hit the opponent, try to get them and kill them and send them off stage. But in reality, Smash is a game of is a king of the hill game, and you want to constantly make your opponent as uncomfortable as possible so you can threaten your opponent with taking their stock, which kind of gives us into the three phases. So the first phase, which I want to go over, is the neutral game. This is the scenario where your characters are no one is an advantage whatsoever. No one has been hit, and space is equal between the two players. This means that no one is going to be comboing each other. You're trying to take space away from your opponent from the stage. Then, the moment someone gets hit with an option, that's when we go into the advantage state. A player has taken space and can juggle, hit, or trap the opponent until knockout or as long as possible. This is when you're trying to take a stock or give as much percent onto the opponent as much as possible by doing the punish game that your players have been practicing, or keeping into the corner. The entire stage is just a big box, and pretty much what you're trying to do is send them out of that box. So when you take up more space in the box, your opponent is a lot more likely to lose the stock. And then it's the vice versa, which is the next phase, which is the disadvantage. This is when you're the one getting comboed. This is when you have lost space and you are in a bad position where your stock can be taken. What you should be thinking about in this scenario is, what should I be doing to get out of this scenario as fast as possible? I'll be kind of delving a little bit more into each of these stages so you guys can understand a little bit more. But like I said, neutral game is when neither player has a situational advantage. Um, as you can see here, both players are under the platforms in the center of the stage. There's an equal amount of spacing between both players, and you're going to be picking as many options as possible. And that's why knowing your options is so important, because during this scenario, you're trying to land an option on your opponent. Uh, and a lot of times, the laggier options, like smash attacks, um, like moves that are unsafe to throw out, these are the options that are going to be punished and waited upon by your opponent. Um, those are options that will get you punished and send you into disadvantage state almost instantly. So working with your players and asking them what is the safest option for you to do in neutral is very important in proceeding with the game, because there are certain options that are just obviously better than others in this state. Certain options can be used as reads later on, or when you finally learn the opponent's habits, but those are not options. You can't throw out those options at the start of the game. The habits that you're trying to read are things that you analyze further and further on within the game itself. An important aspect of the game afterwards is the advantage state. This is after you've landed a hit. So once you're able to take the stage presence itself, you're going to be having more space. You're able to have more options over your opponent, and you're trying to make sure that they have no options whatsoever. So this is important because you might be trying to send them off stage when they're trying to recover, get back onto the stage. You have to edge guard them, which basically means that you will go out and hit them while they're trying to recover, making their life really hard to get back onto stage. And sometimes certain players will give up that option and have them allow them to go back to ledge. In Smash, you're able to go and grab the ledge, and you're trying to get back onto center stage. Um, at that point, you still have more room than your opponent, so you should be acknowledging that they're going to be back on stage at some point. But what options do they have to get to when they're going to be on stage? What are they going to do once they're back on there? You can cover those options because you have more space than they do. And the last thing would be juggling. Once an opponent is up in the air, you can constantly make it so that it's hard for them to land back on the stage. Just because they are um, horizontal, they might have horizontal advantage. If they are above you, most of the time, that means they don't have um, the same amount of space um, vertically. So you can constantly threaten them while they're in the air over and over again, and make them so that they want to come down and spam an option and use one of those habits that might hurt them in the end. You can use your options to be able to juggle them constantly and keep them in that area over and over again. You should be constantly threatening to take stocks during this scenario. Whether or not that is creating advantages within percentages, you should be making it so that you have a better, you are in a more comfortable situation at the end of this. And you're also trying to anticipate what they have left. You can't cover everything. You're trying to make sure that you're able to limit their options as much as possible. But in the end of the day, you're going to reset to neutral at some point in this state. Unless you're zero to death in them, most of the time, what you have to do is kind of understand when to back off or when to reset and not go too hard. Sometimes a lot of players will try to stay in advantage so much that they eventually switch it into their own disadvantage state, uh, which is what we'll be talking about next. Um, so just making sure that you acknowledge, so that you're talking to your students about when did you uh, have to press the brake and to stop what you were doing at the time, and just acknowledge that uh, you're able to kind of change where the game is. And now the disadvantage state is, how do I get back? How do I get out of this situation? How do I take back space? How do I make it so that I survive this situation? Because you have no space. You have less options than your opponent does. They're trying to take your stock away from you right here. So what you should be talking about with your students is figure out the options to easily get back onto the stage, or how to mess up your opponent so that they are able to give you space back. Whether or not they are overextending uh, in their advantage state and then you kind of reversal it, or if you just choose to wait or be patient. Keep in mind, in a cruise format, you have an unlimited time in the actual matches. So there's no shame in literally sitting there and waiting for your team to just, or waiting for your opponent
Seven.
to get impatient.
Seven silly monkeys skipping on the bed.
Okay. And I kind of want to go into more tangible examples of this so that you guys kind of have an understanding of it. What I am going to be asking you guys to do, I will be showing this on Discord, but if you guys want to use this program as well, so you guys can kind of get acquainted with it, it's a program called Insight.gg. It has ways that I can show you guys and write on the actual video itself. I'm going to be showing you guys a high school student that has sent me a VOD or a video. Um, and then also a high level video as well. So um, let me send you guys the key to watch this. If you guys want to watch it in client, you guys can also watch in Discord. That's perfectly fine with me. But I'll be doing both anyways. So I sent it in the Smash Ultimate channel. You guys can click on that. It will send you and do a live session. I can see how many people have joined, and you can also chat in the client as well. Like I said, it's something. It's a tool that we've used in the collegiate level. So I want to make sure you guys have access to this at some point. But the great thing about this is that I can draw and kind of talk about those advantage states, disadvantage states, all those things, specifically within the actual VOD itself. Once I erase all of this, there we go. So we're going to be talking about specifically how to VOD review with your players and what these advantage, disadvantage, and neutral game kind of looks like. This is with CBC's Time Master. So I think CBC was your state champs last year. So this is one of the players kind of reaching out to me to ask to analyze one of their videos. And it's only like a quick 2-minute video.
3, 2, 1, go!
So we see Dr. Mario and Bowser starting off the stage, and instantly both of them jump. They're trying to take up space as soon as possible. And the first thing that Time does here is do a neutral air. And when he does a neutral air in this space, he immediately gets advantage state because he's the one that's taking up space and putting Bowser into the ledge right here. So Bowser has gone from over here from center stage to already at the ledge. This is Bowser's danger zone because this is where Bowser potentially could die or lose his stock at any point in time. This is important because Time is going to constantly try to take his stock or keep him in this area the entire time. This is where Time is in an advantage state. And one of the things here that we have to acknowledge is that once Bowser capped back into the center stage, the Dr. Mario started spamming options like grab right here, while he had no advantage whatsoever. The issue with that is that when he is spamming a option like grab constantly, he gets punished. Bowser is waiting for this entire scenario to happen, and he chooses to go in after Dr. Mario has chosen an option. Bowser is waiting for your opponent so he can punish you accordingly and then send you into your disadvantage state. And now Dr. Mario is the one scared because he's the one that potentially is going to get punished. And this is a great thing that is done by this Dr. Mario, is that after he was able to gain advantage in the first place and reversal it, after going from center stage, landing, and then punishing later because Bowser was being impatient, he immediately sends him back off stage rather than up in the air. He's acknowledging that it's important to keep him in this space right here. And he's going to punish him with certain options to make it so that he constantly stays down and he's able to take the stock that way. And again, we constantly see Time pushing him into the corner, creating that space. This is Bowser's danger zone constantly because he has to pick an option like this get-up attack that is laggy, and he has to be the one to make the first move. What the Dr. Mario should be doing here is literally just waiting. He has all the time in the world to pick an option and react to what Bowser wants to do. So you can a big issue that a lot of players will tend to do is make a preemptive read during this scenario when in reality they have no pressure to be able to have to do that. They are the ones in control. This Dr. Mario has so much control over this Bowser because of how much space he has on the stage. Bowser has to get here. He can't stay in this area, or else he's going to potentially die or take more percent. And you see him struggling constantly to get out of it. And the only time that he's able to get back in center stage is after taking a lot of percent. one of the things that we see is also the vertical disadvantage state between these players. This Bowser really likes to land on top of this Dr. Mario. And although we were talking about the horizontal space, we also have to make sure that the vertical space is also important. So you see here, this is technically a bad scenario for Bowser, right? The Dr. Mario kind of gets impatient, tries to read an option and attack him. So the Bowser chooses to land with a hitbox or a down air to counterattack the opponent. This is something that he's committing to get back onto the center stage because he doesn't want to be here. He wants to be here. So again, he's going to be using a move that sends him directly down and attacks while he's sending him down to be sending him. In this scenario, the Dr. Mario can acknowledge that the Bowser is trying to get back on the stage and wait for him to spam an option. But it also when you wait, you're threatening him to also just wait for you. And if you're both waiting, then he just has a free drop back down. What the Dr. Mario is trying to do is counterattack and make it so that he's constantly stuck there. But the Bowser chooses the correct option. It's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors. But something to be wary about here is that both these players are at really high percent. People play different when they're at high percent. People play scared. People know that they are easily able to lose a stock at any point, even if they do have center stage. Because you are going to be launched a lot farther. We don't have an HP bar. You can lose your stock at any point, but the most scary scenario is when you get hit by a stray hit and anything sends you off. And we see that here. Even though Bowser had more percent than Dr. Mario here, Bowser chose the option that covered the roll here, covered as many options as possible, and he knew that he was able to take his stock almost instantly with one smash attack. So by using a move that, one, it was a pretty big commitment from the Bowser, but because he was able to get the kill in the first place, it worked out for him. But the reason why it's so unexpected in this scenario is because he's at such a high percent. Why would you use such a committal move during such a high percent situation? The Dr. Mario was not ready for that and instantly loses his stock because of it. That's why that's why when you talk to your students, being ambiguous and kind of mixing up your options is very important because these are make or break situations. And time again, constantly will put him off stage because that's where he can get a stock even at the easiest point. He doesn't need a stray hit. He's just in a comfortable situation where he's able to threaten every time. And we're seeing a great combo game coming from the Dr. Mario 2. This is something that your students can practice on themselves. And what I really love to acknowledge here is the awareness from this Dr. Mario after sending him off stage again and again. This Dr. Mario's horizontal advantage is very, very strong. You don't see him sending him up a lot because Bowser has really good landing options against specifically Dr. Mario. So what he's trying to abuse in the matchup specifically, and this is very character specific, is making him sending him this way. Dr. Mario used a tornado, which covers all the options that Bowser could have to get back on the stage. And this is something that we can kind of talk about right here. Bowser in this scenario, when he's off stage, chooses to, in this scenario, he has the option to do basically three things in my eyes. He can up B early to go high so that he's avoiding the Dr. Mario that is down here. He can air dodge onto the into the stage or onto the ledge, which is what he chooses to do. Or he can choose to recover low. He can wait and then up B really, really late. So we see him air dodge and try to go up and into the stage. Time, or the Dr. Mario, is doing option coverage. he's choosing to cover these two bottom options right here. The reason why he's doing that, or the way that he's doing that, is by using this tornado, or the Dock Tornado, which covers enough space between the air dodge to the ledge and waiting and going down. Because of the hitbox, because Dr. Mario's hitbox goes down and up. So he's covering 2 out of the 3 options that are here. He's acknowledging and he's giving up the fact that he could be going high, because this is what he's noticed throughout the entire game. That this Bowser does not like to go high, and he will always recover or air dodge onto the stage. Going back and reviewing these sets to make sure that you're able to acknowledge these options is very important, because this allows you to go back and fix it. Because this Bowser was so stubborn about recovering the same way every time, he was punished instantly for it. And he's able to win the game because of it. A lot of Smash isn't about learning what every move does. I think it's kind of crazy to ask you guys to learn everything about Smash. You guys have to cover multiple games. You guys don't have a Smash coach specifically, so what you kind of want to do is just guide your players to these very basic scenarios, and allowing them to learn from those mistakes, and kind of asking them, what are you doing that is hindering you from improving? Why are you doing an option? And allowing them to move with purpose. That is the most important thing. They can't constantly improve if they're not thinking about the game on a layer where they're able to only react on instinct. Instinct can only take you so far. The only thing that's going to elevate these players is creating an environment where they are thinking about the option that your opponent and you are going to decide. This was a very low-level game on top of that as well, in my eyes. The reason is because the layers of Smash constantly go between more than just this rock, paper, scissors. Dr. Mario had the option to go low, middle, or high in covering all these options. And Bowser is choosing not to mix it up. In a high-level match, your opponent will be choosing different options based upon what you have been guarding or trapping previously in the set. So this scenario is going to change, and there's infinite situations in this scenario. But acknowledging what your habits are is super important in surviving and also killing. Are there any questions so far? I just want to do one more VOD review before we're done. And I won't make you guys join the session this time. I just kind of want the initial one. I just kind of wanted you guys to learn about how to use the tool and stuff. But I want to make sure before we go into any more, I want to show you guys a high level game, what that kind of looks like. Will there be a way to share your presentation with us so we can give to our other coaches? I assume, I'm pretty sure Amy is recording, so there will be a time where you're able to rewatch this VOD. I also have the previous conference as well, if you guys want a quicker, more about like the theories of Smash, so I can kind of go more. I think I went more in depth in the last presentation than I did in this one. This one is a lot more hands-on. I feel like I just need more experience doing this with my students. Thanks so much. Thanks, Curtis. Yeah, I mean, like it's an extremely intricate part of the game, and I feel like people don't start thinking about it, and it's very, very hard to understand at a layman's terms. So, but I kind of want to go into a more competitive game and kind of tell you guys what high-level Smash is, because there are certain students that will be at this level, and when they play each other, it will look significantly different than your students that are at a mid to low level. The game is just a whole different beast when it comes to like the best players, and there are students here that are at that level, so you kind of want to be able to understand where to kind of send them. Is there a quick way to get video files from the Switch? I have one capture card that can get video files quickly, but it's hard to get videos from the other Switches. No, it sucks. You save those VODs for later review, and then just know what Switch has those VODs, and you can kind of go over them. It's a little bit harder to upload them onto YouTube or onto a program like this, other than a capture card. But you can save the VODs for later on and then record them later. But we're gonna kind of just quickly go into a more high-level match right now, and then I will leave the floor up to the last second questions, and I can let you guys go. I don't want to keep you guys here for too long.
Options off stage. All right, so it looks like Strack starting this off with
But this is a game between I think this was 2019, so this is years ago. This is the beginning of Ultimate. So the game looks different now than it was before, but this is very two slow players, which I think is really good to see, because they're both thinking about the options that they are trying to go towards. If you do want to join the session so you can watch it, oh, never mind. This cannot be used. Never mind. We're just gonna watch them here. But we're gonna be talking. I'm gonna be showing you guys like the kind of thinking behind these high level players when it comes to options. Hopefully, it'll be better quality.
28% damage deficit here.
Yeah, it looks like he probably got hit by a forward throw into
Yeah.
a fair or something like that.
Throwing out that bomb. Trying to take some stage control here. Grab.
Right here. It's very important to acknowledge this part of the game immediately, because this is when option coverage is so important. The forward throw from the Zero Suit Samus
Some stage control here.
puts Link in a scenario where he is uncomfortable. He has to tech onto the stage during this situation. That means he has to land onto the stage after getting forward throw. The Zero Suit Samus understands that the Link has three options here. He has to tech in place, which is staying on this corner right here. He has to tech away, which is rolling to the left, or he has to tech in. What this Zero Suit Samus is trying to do in this scenario is extend her combo game more and more after this forward throw. So,
Here, grabbing to
she chose to attack the tech in place option. She had to land, the Link tried to land here. She predicted that he would land here. The Link, playing this Zero Suit over and over again, this is probably like their 10th time playing, knows that if he lands here, he's at threat of dying. The combo, once you get high enough in level, is that if he gets hit by the combo that the Zero Suit is throwing out, is that he will be sent off stage immediately and potentially die. Because the Zero Suit has the combo ability and the strength of, it doesn't matter what percent you are, she can take your stock at any percent in this scenario if she lands the move here. So he chooses to give up the center stage to survive by teching away. Zero Suit has all this space now, but the risk reward of teching in place, although you continue to have center stage, is that he doesn't die. He doesn't lose his stock here, or he doesn't get comboed on and gets sent later further and further off stage. You would rather have, I would 100% rather be in this scenario I would 100% rather be in this scenario where he is on the side of the stage. So, and according to the stage, he'd be right here. I would rather be here than where there's X's. I'd rather be on the stage with all this room gone than away outside the stage.
a forward forward throw coming from Vesselo.
So the reason why Zero Suit's forward throw is so good is because it sends in a tumble. So
This is probably one of the last things I want to cover
Suit's
because
forward throw is so good.
the set is a pretty long set.
So early, so you're forced
Right
to
here,
so good is 'cause
an important thing when this link threw this Zero Suit Samus into the air
So the reason why
is
Zero
that
Suit's forward throw is so good is because it sends
he
in a
read the option that the Zero Suit is trying to get away from him. He kept him juggling in the air. This move is not true. There was no combo that he extended from anything. But what he's choosing to do is put in a lasting hitbox or a move and covering the air so that he's predicting where the Zero Suit is going towards. This is what high-level Smash kind of delves more into, is that even in the smallest scenarios, there is an option that you can choose. This Link has played against a Zero Suit multiple times where he understands that this is the tendency of what Zero Suits like to do in this situation. It's to run away or to jump into the air after getting comboed, because this is where he or she is scared of getting hit again by the opponent. But because he takes that panic and turns it into his own advantage state and extends it even more. This percent is super important because it makes it so that the Zero Suit is in danger of dying more.
tumble so early, so you're forced into a tech situation, which means that Zero Suit gets the option to read your tech and cover a lot of options and get more damage off of it. So it's a throw that leads to
And this is an important example of neutral. Certain characters will have different neutrals. Certain characters have different categories as players. Link is a projectile thrower. Zero Suit is a brawler and more in-your-face style. So, with this case, this Link is trying to use options to hit the Zero Suit with projectiles, while Zero Suit is constantly trying to get in as fast as possible onto the Link. They're both zoning safe moves away from each other, which makes it so that they're able to try to get advantage state in the first place. You see, the projectiles are safe because he's always be able to be in a safe distance. Zero Suit's moves are just super safe when they're hitting on your shield or next to you, that she can constantly move in and out of the situation. This is what neutral is, because you're both constantly trying to... It's like a tug of war. You're both trying to get an advantage in this scenario. And no one's taking too much percent.
I didn't even know that. That's a really good thing to know, especially when going against.
They're both scared of each other to make a move. And the moment, and sometimes, choosing an option in the first place might be the wrong option. Sometimes you can wait. Sometimes you don't have to constantly move and throw out hitboxes. It's not necessary.
some arrows on the ground.
And it's so interesting to me that you can throw Link's second arrow.
And something that I want to acknowledge here, and it's the last thing I'm going to acknowledge actually in this video, is that this game is a lot slower than we saw in the last game, right? It's already been a minute into this game. There hasn't been a stock taken yet between these two players. In the last game, we saw both those players, the Bowser and the Dr. Mario, slugging it out constantly, fighting, choosing to pick fights when there isn't a necessity to pick a fight there. Teaching your players patience, especially in a Wi-Fi format or an online format when it's hard to react to a lot of options, is extremely important. Players will go on and say that it's like playing lame, or it's boring to play a certain way. But if you're playing in a high pressure, high level situation, slow things down. In a singles game, you have 7 minutes. That's a lot of time to take 3 stocks away from each other. In a cruise battle format, you have unlimited time. Use that time to your advantage. You do not have to pick an option that puts you at risk. The reason why this Link is up here in the first place is because he threw out a neutral air. His least laggiest move, the safest move in his arsenal. But he did it to a ZSS that was literally sitting there. Because it's faster to react out of nothing than it is to react after you've already done something. Because you're still in the animation in a game that constantly has frame data being talked about, right? Just think about it in layman's terms. It's literally just like, if I'm in the middle of eating, it's faster for me. I will eat the food faster if I don't have anything in my stomach in the first place, right? I'm hungry. You'll react faster if you aren't doing anything. Don't be afraid of nothing. You can constantly make these decisions later on in the game and react to your opponent.
His arrow.
If there are any questions so far, I think that's kind of the end of my presentation. I think I taught a lot of the theories and the kind of the ideologies that I have behind Smash. Certain players will have different ideologies than I do, and I think kind of fixating on what these students want to, how they want to play is very important because their playstyles might not mesh up with certain teachings or certain ideas. There's no wrong way to play Smash. There just are right options, if that makes sense. In certain scenarios, there is always an option for the most part at this mid-level play. At the highest level play, then you get to the point where you're stealing options away from your opponent and making it so that characters have no options, period. But I can tell you that 95% of your students will not be at this level, and that the basics and fundamentals are the things that you need to learn. Do I have a Metafy? I do not have a Metafy. I do not think I so. Metafy is usually structured around character specialists or high level players. You get Metafy coaching if you are one of the most talented players. Again, like I said, I can coach. In fact, the player that we're watching here, the Link, he used to be the former number one in St. Louis. He was actually a St. Louis University student previously. He graduated in 2019. I was his coach for the most part, and he was my practice partner. So I can talk Smash at a high level, but it's definitely not one of the games that I personally don't play the Smash game as much as I used to. So Metafy is not kind of something I've been looking towards. Also, we don't even I don't my Smash team is also like very very casual at SLU. So it's something that if you kind of want to go into Metafy coaching, I think you should do that with if your students want to have a character specific coach. So like Apollo Kage is our current number one. He's a Snake main, and has beaten players like Esam, has multiple PGR wins and high placings at Super Majors, which are the biggest events in the entire world, all ranked internationally as well. He's probably top 5% on Metafy. Those are players that I would go to if you want to learn about fighting against Snake or playing as Snake. So, like I said, use Metafy for Smash as specifically for characters. It's not like League where you can kind of learn concepts of it. Is there any more question, guys? I am free. I am open for the next hour or so to answer anything. And I can also answer any questions about like colleges or like the circuit as well too. Keep in mind I'm a college esports director as well. So I'm here pretty much for you guys to ask at any point, anything that you guys want to ask. Also, I'm just excited to also watch because Smashes will always have a special place in my heart. So I will always want to help you guys as much as possible when it comes to this. And if you guys want VOD reviews as well, it's students that come out and reach out to me specifically, send them my way. Even if I'm not able to help them and tutor them specifically, I can send them or get them some help. I have students that are in the scene that are in colleges um, that are always wanting to help out. Or am I still recruiting commentators for your events? I'd love to send some of my kids to watch or cast. So I do still use commentators that are remote for the scene. Because of COVID, though, I've been streaming less. It's just kind of a hassle to run an event through COVID. But I still will give opportunities to students when I do have them available. So literally just, I think the biggest thing is that whenever I announce an event, I usually send it into the MOSEF Discord or the Missouri community Discords, and also the St. Louis Smash Discord. Just when you see an event, just ask. Literally, just be like, "Are you guys having commentators for this?" I will literally straight up tell you yes or no. So, and I usually have space. I usually don't fill those spaces for commentary up until literally the week of or the week before. So it's never too late or never too early to ask. All right, guys. I think this is a lot of thank yous. I don't know. I'm glad that I'm able to see you guys, especially for the people that were here last week or last year. I definitely see the growth between your players. The skill is significantly better than what I saw in the first time um, in the crew battles, especially in the singles event. From what I saw, I will say, once COVID kind of dies down a little bit, I'm hoping that your students, encouraging them to branch out as much as possible to not just play within the high school scene is very, very important. In any game within the college scene, we actually, it's hard to recruit specifically in esports from a high school pipeline because there are so many people competing for college spots. This is an important thing to kind of acknowledge within the college esports pipeline right now, and I think it's something that you guys should all strive for, is that we are recruiting from the amateur space as well. And this includes people that are outside of college age, typical college age. These are people who are looking to go to college, go back to school and stuff like that too. Um, so when your students in high school are trying to compete against those students as well, it's a way higher playing field, and it's really hard to kind of branch out to. So the best way to kind of encourage your students to improve in any game is literally sending them out to play in the amateur circuits or amateur scenes and outside of just the high school circuit. So whether or not that is League of Legends amateur, Overwatch amateur, Valorant amateur, if they're good enough to be able to do that, have them as much experience as possible so their resumes are built with more and more games. In Smash specifically, that means going out to tournaments, getting tournament results in your local scene, playing at the local level, and then later on going to a national level. If you're able to get national qualifications and national resume boosters, that's amazing for me to see. If you go to a super major like Apollo Kage does, Luma does, all these players, these are the people that I'm going to be looking at first whenever I'm recruiting as a college recruiter as well. Just I'm kind of just getting into your space that the best way to improve is to not just stay in your bubble and to not be comfortable in the current situation that you're in. It's to um, take the resources in the Wild West that is esports and understanding that you're not able to provide them everything in the current space. Um, the state championship is amazing. If you win your state championship, it's great. Um, but I can tell you that I've seen kids like Yoshi Kid, who was a state semifinalist um, in the state championship last year. I thought when he first came to the scene, I actually thought he was bad, but he's semifinalist in the state championship. But when we would play, like there was basically like you pick like one or two stocks. But the moment he went to SMT and played against the SMT students, constantly went to tournaments and came back to St. Louis and entered in events after grinding with people who are like-minded and again opened the amateur circuits. He improved drastically and eventually got is constantly placing top 8 at major events or at local events at least. And I think he'd be if he went back to the state championship, he'd be a contender for first at this point. He's taking sets or stocks off Luma. Like these are just ways to grow your players outside of just coaching them in the space that you have right now. Just encouraging them that they're able to move on to even more things. But that's it, guys. I won't keep you guys for too long. It's already kind of gone over what I've expected to talk about. I appreciate you guys for listening, for my little tangents. I know it's kind of sometimes unorganized in my mind, but I just love Smash so much that I'm glad that you guys are open to listening because I think it's such a great game to learn at this level. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. You guys can also shoot me a DM at any point. My social media, my Discord's always open to anyone that wants to send me a message about college or even just about Smash in general. I'm always open to help. I'm also in the St. Louis area, so if you're a St. Louis school, like I can always come down and kind of help you guys out as well. COVID makes it so that I have a lot of free time as well. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. See you guys.